inch wave in it, in the vein, down in the earth. Well, you don't want a table that is an inch here and 3 inches in the middle. Everything will roll off of it. So that's the problem, and they're just not bringing anything out.
It was for directional that Evans developed the sculpted bronze technique. How did that technique come about?
I had been in Philadelphia to H. Pearlstein and Son picking up plate glass tops, and I got detoured along the waterfront, and then the traffic was tied up, and I'm sitting there, and then they had pulled up, I don't know if it was a barge or a boat or whatever, that they were spraying a coating on the hull. And, I had to sit there and wait till we got waved through. And I thought it was pretty kind of interesting and cool. So after we got by, I found a place to park and I walked back and I watched them for a while. And they had it looked like a ray gun, looked like a space ray gun. And there was a piece of wire going in the back, 1/8 inch in diameter. And it was making a lot of noise and had flame coming out of it about 8 inches long. And this wire was going in and it was vaporizing it. And he was spraying it physically on the metal. And it was silver and a lot of yellow smoke coming off of it. He was spraying zinc because it was going to get put back in the water. It was a coating that they had done. So I got close enough to where the big wheel was, where the coil of the product was, and I saw the name. And thought, oh, this is really cool stuff. We'd been experimenting prior to that with metal flake and stuff like that, trying to put it on plaster and so on, and it just looked fake. So we didn't really like it. So when I came back, I told Paul about it. He said, well, give him a call. So I gave him a call. The salesman showed up a week or so later and told us all about the process and arranged for a demo somewhere. And we went and took a look at it. Paul, when we left, he says, we got to have one of them. So we ended up buying the whole package. And the salesman came down and showed us how to use it. And again, it didn't work as easy as it looked. When we originally sprayed it on different things, it used to peel right off. We had to find a way. So we tried several different things. And then finally we ended up blasting with steel shot from a sandblaster, and to rough the shine off of anything and create a more textured surface. And then the bronze still didn't stick. So that's when we bought the aluminum, which is considered a primer, and sprayed it with the aluminum, and that bind worked a lot better. And then we sprayed the bronze over top of that. And then it was bright yellow. It was ugly, very ugly. So then again, we started playing with it. Now we buffed it, which the cabinet over here on the right was one that was all buffed. But a lot of labor. It was very labor intense and it really took too much time. So then we just played with it for a while, and then finally we ended up spraying it with some 1 hour varnish, and then took the carbon from a cutting torch and blackened the whole piece so it was dead black. And then we took a piece of sandpaper at the time and realized that, the bronze came through. So then we got what's called a Sandoflex, put in a 1/4 inch drill, and it had pieces of sandpaper on like a wheel, and you could go along, and we flapped it up. And the bronze all came through and the black stayed in the background. And this looked really good. So then we turned around and varnished it again, which sealed it. And that was the whole technique. That's how it took about a year for that to happen. But then we knew we had a line. And then from there, Paul just started drawing pictures, and we started building everything that was in the directional line. We just kept adding constantly on it there. There were a lot of studio pieces done in bronze. And then we developed that whole line for directional. And we started off with a show at Paul's house on Aquitaine Road with that. And it was all set up outside on his patio and everything else. And they came down, and in the one's barn was a round bar sitting way back in the corner. And they'd never seen any of the goop. He kept it all under hush-hush. We had been doing some studio stuff in it, but he needed a line with directional to really pump up the volume. And then we designed chairs, tables. The goop line was probably the most successful, with no comebacks. It was almost indestructible. People loved it at the time. and we made tons of that stuff. They saw the round bar at the end because he took them around and showed them to that, and they said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "Oh, it's a round bar," and he opened it up, and they just said, "How much is it?" And I think he told them $1,000, which he figured they would run from. We have to have it. Well, it was a big seller. I mean, we averaged one a month for many years on the round bars, and sold a lot of them. And
So we call that today sculpted bronze.
I call it sculpted bronze.
Or you
yeah.
call it sculpted bronze or
Well, in the shop
Yeah.
name was Goop.
Okay,
Yeah, it was
cool.
a Goop. And that's just an internal name that we use.
Right.
But sculpted bronze is really what it is. Sculpted aluminum were the two finishes that we did it in.
How many sculpted bronze pieces do you think Evans created for directional?
There were a lot of pieces in the bronze line, and we sold a lot of it. It very sustained us for almost 2 or 3 years. Probably took up 60-70% of the production of that shop at the time. I don't know how many bronze pieces. I've estimated in the past total production of the directional product from the beginning to the end, about 30,000 pieces in all the different techniques, and there were a lot of them. And I would say in the studio pieces, there's probably about 5,000 pieces. So I'm estimating total, of 35,000 pieces of Paul Evans, from very small pieces to very large pieces. And one of the ways that, I came up with that, when we were really producing in Plumsteadville, I had to ship 100,000 a month to directional. That was my goal and what I had to do to make the shop work. So that truck went into New York City 2 and 3 times a week plus daily shipping, and I hit that 100,000 month after month for year after year. So when you start putting that together, and that truck had anywhere from 50 pieces in it to 75 pieces. So I try to calculate from that, but directional is what put Paul Evans on the map as far as people that didn't come to New Hope, and then the rest, it just made them more aware of it. Now I think the directional pieces are not as expensive to buy or acquire as the studio pieces. The studio is really where the serious money is in buying Paul Evans today.